It was the 25th of May, 1982, a date etched in the annals of the Falklands War. High above the frigid South Atlantic, two distinct pairs of Argentinian A-4 Skyhawk jets, venerable but battle-hardened war horses of the air, screamed low over the rugged, windswept expanse of the Falkland Islands. Each roar of their engines heralded a mission that carried the very real prospect of being a one-way journey into history. At the head of this daring formation was Captain Pablo Carballo, a man whose resolve was as steely as the bombs slung beneath his aircraft's wings. He and his squadron were piloting these older, less technologically advanced Skyhawks, their cockpits stripped of modern luxuries and sophisticated warning systems, making every flight a testament to courage and skill. Their singular objective, to locate and neutralize the formidable British warships HMS Coventry and HMS Broadsword, whose presence threatened the Argentinian hold on the disputed islands. The capture of the Falkland Islands, or Las Malvinas as they were known in Argentina, was a strategic coup, but maintaining control hinged precariously on preventing British naval dominance. Intelligence had revealed that HMS Coventry and HMS Broadsword, two vital assets of the Royal Navy, had advanced dangerously close to the islands. Their mission was to provide crucial air defense cover for British ground troops preparing to advance. This proximity, however, presented the Argentinians with a perilous opportunity, the chance to exploit the island's undulating terrain as natural cover, allowing their low-flying jets to approach undetected by the British radar systems. As Carballo's voice crackled over the intercom, a stark command echoed through the cockpits. Entering their range, don't climb for any reason. It was a mantra of survival, a desperate gamble against superior technology. The Skyhawks, their shadows momentarily staining the choppy waters below, pressed their advantage, flying with an almost suicidal audacity. They hugged the contours of the islands, mere feet above the waves and terrain, a strategy born of desperation against the advanced capabilities of their adversaries. On board the British ships, sophisticated anti-air missile systems like the Sea Dart and the shorter-range Sea Wolf, coupled with powerful radars, had already proven devastatingly effective against previous Argentinian air raids. For the Skyhawk pilots, staying beneath the radar horizon was not just a tactic, it was their only chance at survival, their fragile lifeline in a hostile sky. Aboard HMS Coventry, Captain David Hart Dyke, a seasoned naval officer, maintained a heightened state of alert. British Special Forces intelligence had warned him of recent Argentinian sorties, but the specific, chilling detail that his own ship was now the primary target remained tragically unknown to him. Then, with a jarring suddenness, the electronic pulses on his radar screen coalesced into 4 ominous blips. 4 contacts bearing 225, range 30. The call from the radar operator sliced through the tension, confirming Hart Dyke's gravest fears. Instantly, alarms blared through both ships, a harsh, urgent symphony of impending battle. Men scrambled to action stations, and with predatory precision, the mighty Sea Dart surface-to-air missile launchers on Coventry swiveled, their hungry maws turning to bear on the approaching threat. Simultaneously, the Skyhawks, masters of their craft, converged on Pebble Island. "Isla de Bourbon ahead. Keep low and follow me," Carballo commanded, his voice unwavering amidst the roar. With breathtaking skill, the Argentinian pilots used the island's mountainous terrain as an impenetrable shield. As they flew directly over its crest, the radar contacts on Coventry vanished as abruptly as they had appeared. "Contacts lost over Pebble Island." The report was delivered with an undertone of dread, confirming Captain Hart Dyke's worst-case scenario. Pebble Island was dangerously close. The formidable Sea Dart missiles, designed for long-range engagements, possessed a critical flaw, a significant minimum engagement range. Now, if the Argentinians reappeared, Coventry would have, at best, a single desperate opportunity to fire. Hart Dyke's voice, now laced with urgent concern, crackled over the radio to HMS Broadsword. "Broadsword, what is your status?" Broadsword, though smaller, was armed with the shorter-range Seawolf missiles, a system far better suited for the close-quarters knife fight that now loomed. In the cramped confines of their Skyhawks, Carballo meticulously guided his men, pressing them ever closer under the deceptive cloak of the land. Their aircraft were devoid of radar and modern warning systems. They flew by the seat of their pants, relying on raw skill and visual acuity. But then, at a distance of approximately 10 nautical miles, the glimmer of the British ships shimmered into view on the horizon. Starting the attack, Carballo roared, his voice filled with adrenaline. "Good luck, Captain," came the swift, heartfelt reply from a wingman. With a surge of power, Carballo and his wingman, Lieutenant Carlos Rinke, pushed their throttles to the maximum, accelerating to a blistering pace, skimming the waves, their approach almost impossibly low. Aboard Coventry, the sudden appearance of the two Skyhawks as vivid blips on the radar screens instantly reignited the alarms. "Two hostiles bearing 192, low level." The tension was palpable. But then, a new report plunged the bridge into a fresh wave of confusion. A British Harrier jump jet, flying a combat air patrol, announced its presence. "Captain, friendly aircraft 20 miles out." A friendly aircraft and enemy jets, all converging within the same dangerous airspace. The dilemma was agonizing, a split-second decision with lives hanging in the balance. Should he risk firing the missiles, potentially endangering a friendly pilot, or hold fire and expose his ship? In that critical instant, Captain Hartdyke made his choice. "Turn the Harrier away, shoot missiles," he commanded, his voice tight with urgency. Yet despite the order, the missile operators wrestled frantically with their consoles, unable to achieve a vital lock. The Argentinians were flying with an almost suicidal disregard for their own safety, mere feet above the churning sea. Carballo's canopy was plastered with sea salt, the spray from the waves obscuring his vision as he roared through the ocean mist. Their incredibly low altitude, coupled with the dense electromagnetic clutter near the surface, was baffling Coventry's radars. Aboard the ship, the crew's hearts hammered against their ribs, a sickening drumbeat accompanying the enemy's relentless advance. The Sea Dart missiles, Coventry's primary defense, remained frustratingly silent, unable to acquire a target. Captain Hartdyke felt a cold dread wash over him, a sickening realization that his decision to rely on the Sea Darts might have been a fatal error. His unspoken prayer was for Broadsword's Seawolf missiles to somehow intervene. Aboard Broadsword, the targets were finally visible to the naked eye. The Skyhawks were flying with such audacious proximity that Broadsword's Seawolf radar, designed for precision targeting, detected them not as two distinct aircraft, but as a single elongated blip. The launchers turned, and with a gratifying thunk, the target was locked, just as the Argentinians barreled down upon them. But then, with horrifying clarity, the single contact resolved into two. The sudden, conflicting influx of two sets of coordinates so close together overwhelmed and crashed the missile guidance system. "The missiles are not responding," a frantic voice cried out. "Restart them." But there was no time. Lookouts aboard Coventry, their eyes wide with terror, now saw the Skyhawks with their own naked eyes, their shouts of alarm piercing the cacophony of the ship. In a desperate, last-ditch effort, HMS Coventry's 4.5-inch deck guns swiveled and opened fire, their roars soon joined by a frantic symphony of personal machine guns and rifles as sailors, from every accessible vantage point across the deck, unleashed a barrage of lead towards the advancing threat. Carballo, focused with predatory intensity, watched the splashes of the British shells erupting from the sea, the fiery tracers of their bullets arcing closer, refining their deadly aim. The enemy ship filled his windscreen, victory almost within his grasp. Yet, the incoming fire was growing alarmingly accurate. He could feel it, an almost primal premonition that they might not make it. "Change to the other one," he barked, a split-second tactical re-evaluation. His new target? HMS Broadsword. With a violent pull, the two Skyhawks veered sharply to the side, away from Coventry's furious barrage, roaring past her deck with incredible speed as they aligned for their attack run on Broadsword. With their crosshairs fixed, the two pilots squeezed their triggers. Their formidable 1,000-pound bombs disengaged, plummeting towards the sea, only to strike the surface and, with an astonishing defiance of physics, skip like massive, deadly stones, redirecting their trajectory upwards. On Broadsword, sailors watched, paralyzed with a mixture of terror and disbelief, as the two massive bombs bounced twice, closing the distance with terrifying speed. One bomb struck the sea, sinking harmlessly short of Broadsword's hull, but the other did not. With a terrifying impact, it punched straight into the side of Broadsword's hull, just above the waterline. The sheer force of the impact, however, deflected it upwards. It burst out of the ship's deck, a surreal projectile tumbling end over end, before falling into the sea without detonating. Carvalho, witnessing the anticlimactic splash, was consumed by dismay. But their mission was far from over. Hot on their heels, the second flight, commanded by First Lieutenant Mariano Angel Velasco and Ensign Jorge Nelson Barrio Nuevo, hurtled towards the British ships. These Skyhawks were armed with less powerful but arguably more reliable 250-kilogram bombs. Aboard the British ships, all four contacts now blazed on the radar screens. Captain Hartdyke, grasping at any tactical advantage, immediately ordered Coventry to execute a hard turn to starboard, hoping to clear the missile launch arcs and allow his sea darts to engage all four targets. Coventry's missile operators, with renewed urgency, managed to acquire a lock on Velasco's aircraft. "Shoot!" came the command. A bright flash momentarily illuminated Coventry's deck, and a Sea Dart missile rocketed skywards in a plume of smoke and fire. But just as the missile cleared the deck, Velasco and his wingman executed a desperate maneuver, dropping even lower, their aircraft almost brushing the waves. They vanished from the British radar, and the missile, now without a target, continued its ballistic trajectory into the empty sky. The sailors on Coventry watched, aghast, as their prized missile, a beacon of hope, veered off course and disappeared harmlessly into the distance, some 500 meters to Velasco's right. Velasco, his eyes locked with unwavering intensity on HMS Coventry, pressed his attack. Meanwhile, aboard Broadsword, the frantic race was on. Engineers and technicians wrestled with the rebooting missile systems, their screens blank as the Skyhawks closed in. It was a harrowing contest between man, machine, and the relentless advance of the enemy. "Come on," a voice pleaded, a desperate whisper of encouragement. The screens flickered to life, and the sailors sprang back to action. The Skyhawks reappeared, now clearly visible on the Sea Wolf radar. Launchers swiveled, and a target lock was re-established. But then, a new horror unfolded on their screens. HMS Coventry, executing Hartdyke's evasive maneuver, had sailed directly into Broadsword's missile firing line. "God damn it! The Coventry is in the way!" The cry of exasperation was laced with the bitterness of a lost opportunity. In their desperate rush to cover all targets, they had inadvertently blocked the only missiles that could actually engage the incoming threat. Broadsword's captain frantically attempted to maneuver his ship, desperate to clear a firing arc, but it was simply too late. In their Skyhawks, Velasco and Barrio Nuevo were now inexorably closing on their target. On Coventry, Captain Hartdyke, with all other options exhausted, ordered every available weapon to open fire. Cannons roared, machine guns chattered, a desperate torrent of lead spewing from the ship's defenses. The main 4.5-inch gun, a powerful weapon of war, sent its shells whistling towards the sea. But the gunners soon realized, with sickening clarity, that the sights were misaligned. That was not the only malfunction. At the same time, the ship's 20mm anti-air gun, a crucial close-in defense, jammed. Men desperately clawed at the mechanism, their fingers flying, trying to clear the stoppage as the Argentinian planes closed. In a final, desperate act, sailors across the ship, armed with their personal rifles, opened fire, their paltry bullets a symbolic defiance against the roaring Skyhawks. The sea around Coventry churned and frothed, geysers of spray erupting as everything the British had was directed at the advancing Skyhawks. But it was all too late. "Brace, brace, brace!" The chilling command echoed over the intercom, commanding officers barking orders for everyone to hit the deck. Men instinctively dove for cover, clutching at anything solid, bracing for the inevitable, their hearts pounding in their chests. The Lasco, his vision consumed by the enemy ship, his targeting reticle firmly fixed, pulled the trigger. His A-Force 20mm cannons unleashed a devastating volley of lead across the ship's deck and superstructure, a storm of bullets tearing through metal and flesh. He held the trigger down, a primal scream of aggression, for as long as he dared. Then, with a final, decisive movement, he released his payload. The bombs detached, arcing lazily through the air for a moment, before slamming into HMS Coventry with a bone-jarring force. They punched through the hull, the impact reverberating through the ship as two almost hollow, sickening thunks. But there was no explosion. The second A-4 roared overhead, its bomb still stubbornly clinging to its belly, the release mechanism having failed. Seconds stretched into an eternity. Men cautiously began to rise, their faces etched with fear and confusion, looking around the smoke-filled devastation. A voice crackled through the intercom, reporting damage, but the sentence was never completed. The bombs detonated. Two colossal explosions ripped through HMS Coventry, shaking the mighty warship to its very core. In the air, the Argentinian pilots, witnessing plumes of thick black smoke boiling from the Coventry, erupted in elation. They had done it. "Woo-ha-ha-ha!" one pilot screamed into the radio. "Boom, dude," another added, a primal yell of triumph. "Goal! Long live the nation!" One explosion, precisely beneath the bridge, tore a massive jagged hole in the ship's side, obliterating the crucial computer room. The ensuing inferno roared upwards, blasting through corridors and engulfing the operations room where Captain Hartdike and his operators had been working mere moments before. The second bomb exploded in the forward engine room, igniting another massive fire and crippling the ship's electrical and propulsion power. Captain Hartdike, his senses slowly returning amidst the chaos, found himself surrounded by thick smoke and utter destruction. Screams, piercing and guttural, filled the air, seeming to emanate from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. He staggered to his feet, his mind slowly registering the grim reality. The ship was listing heavily, a stark prelude to its demise. He instinctively reached for his intercom, only to find it completely dead. It was useless. He had to escape. Captain Hartdike, wounded and dazed, slowly, painstakingly worked his way through the smoke-choked corridors, the ship groaning and cracking beneath him, a living entity in its death throes. Miraculously, he managed to locate an exit, emerging onto the chilling, fresh air of the South Atlantic. Now on deck, his primary concern immediately shifted to his men. But instead of the expected chaos and panic, he was met by an astonishing display of professional, well-drilled evacuation procedures. His crew, having diligently practiced for such a catastrophe, were springing into action with remarkable efficiency. Men courageously rescued their comrades from smoke-filled cabins, while others administered immediate medical attention on deck. Still others methodically prepared survival rafts and helped dazed sailors don their immersion suits, a testament to their rigorous training. Hartdyke felt the deck shift precariously beneath his feet as the hull continued its inexorable list. Dazed, wounded, and amidst the controlled chaos, he found himself compelled to sit down on the rapidly canting hull as his men, following procedure, abandoned the doomed vessel. All that is, except Captain Hartdyke. After the last of his crew had departed, Hartdyke stood alone on the upturned, smoking hull of the Coventry. He cast one last, lingering look around his dying command, a vessel that had been his home and responsibility. His duty done, and as the last man aboard, he finally stepped into the final survival raft, drifting away from the inferno that had once been HMS Coventry. Due to the exemplary professionalism and discipline of the British crew, a remarkable 170 survivors were eventually plucked from the frigid waters by HMS Broadsword and British rescue helicopters. Tragically, however, 19 brave souls lost their lives in that brutal, desperate battle. All of the Argentinian pilots, against incredible odds, successfully made it back to base and landed, their audacious mission accomplished. They had achieved a stunning victory, a moment of triumph, but ultimately, their courage did not turn the tide of the broader war. For another riveting account of modern air combat, consider exploring the story of when MiG-29s ambushed Eagles in Iraq.